For 9 years, Dolores Catania was the quiet center of an increasingly loud ensemble. While her peers prioritized on-screen conflict, she was quietly securing a position on a high-stakes psychological competition that would change her relationship with the network. By late 2024, her home franchise, The Real Housewives of New Jersey, had reached a point of total stagnation, entering a 2-year production hiatus that broke the show's ensemble model. The deadlock was driven by a total refusal to film together. Teresa Giudice and Melissa Gorga had entered a state of mutually assured destruction, forcing the network to halt production for the entire cast. When the network finally decided to restructure the cast, half of the veteran stars were removed. Yet Dolores Catania remained. Her survival was the result of a move into a separate show that allowed her to demonstrate her value to the network outside of the family feud that had paralyzed her original series. This strategy relied on a mechanic her castmates called the Switzerland Protocol, a refusal to take a definitive side during the show's most extreme conflicts. She utilized a loyalty code rooted in her background in Paterson, New Jersey. By keeping her allegiances private, she avoided creating personal enemies who could lobby for her removal. In scenes where her peers engaged in loud, destructive behavior, Dolores was frequently observed remaining perfectly still and silent. This neutrality functioned as a defensive armor. By absorbing the tension of the room rather than adding to it, she became an indispensable bridge for the producers who needed the cast to communicate. However, this approach has a structural limit. Neutrality only works as long as the surrounding ensemble continues to function. To maintain her position during the network's purge, she needed to prove her loyalty-based strategy could work in an environment designed specifically for deception. That arena was Season 3 of The Traitors. In the Scottish Highlands, she was placed into a social deduction game with aggressive strategists. While other players immediately attempted to control the game through complex manipulation, Dolores maintained her passive approach, allowing the more active gamers to target one another. A significant shift occurred when she formed an alliance with a known traitor, Danielle Reyes. Dolores defended her based on an emotional bond rather than game evidence. This graph illustrates the outcome of that move. By being vocally loyal to a traitor, she became non-threatening to the people in control of the murders. The attackers bypassed her node entirely to target the players who were actively trying to solve the game. The strategy allowed her to reach the end of the game and win a split of the $200,000 grand prize. By refusing to play an analytical game, she outlasted the analysts. The compliance she had practiced for a decade in New Jersey became a winning formula in a pure deduction environment. While she was securing a victory in Scotland, the corporate leadership at NBC Universal was finalizing a restructuring of the New Jersey cast. The gridlock finally broke when Margaret Josephs announced she was moving on from the series. Her exit removed the primary obstacle to filming, allowing the network to move forward with the removal of several other veteran cast members who had been part of the deadlock. Winning a major prize on an independent show gave Dolores financial capital that was separate from her housewife salary. While her castmates remained dependent on a single, failing franchise, Dolores had established herself as a viable asset across the network's broader portfolio. The shift in leverage was apparent at BravoCon. Teresa Giudice and Melissa Gorga announced a sudden truce, a move many observers linked to the network's requirement for cast cooperation. Legacy stars were forced into a truce to preserve their contracts. In contrast, Dolores's independent victory broke that dependency loop, expanding into other shows. By not becoming an obstacle to production, she maintained her role while allies and enemies were removed. Her next move was a role on The Real Housewives of Rhode Island. Starring across multiple franchises provides a veteran star with increased leverage during contract negotiations. This strategy demonstrates how a secondary player can successfully outgrow the ensemble format by diversifying their presence across different networks and genres. Sustaining a decade-long career in this industry requires viewing the genre not through the lens of gossip, but as a series of corporate and social negotiations. Dolores Catania spent a decade protecting a franchise. She eventually realized that her own survival required stepping away and allowing the original cast structure to dissolve. Passive players are often underestimated. In a system that rewards cooperation over conflict, the person who refuses to fight is often the only one left standing.